There we go. All right. Make sure I've got this squared up and prepared. Not what I wanted to do. Sorry. Starting off right behind the 8 ball. Okay. There we go. All right. Squared up. How is everyone doing tonight? If you're here. If you're not here, well, I imagine I won't hear from you. Which, that would just be logical and make sense, wouldn't it? Because you're not present. So, greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the Storyteller's Corner. I'm your host, Joshua T. Calkins-Treworgy, also known as Byron Sidious. And it is break time, story time. And as I had determined over the last few days, I am going to begin using this break time stream to present to you fine folks who do tune in now during the streams as they're live on my break time, or if you happen to dip back in at a later time to check it out at your leisure so you can listen to it in the background. Either way, perfectly acceptable. I am now going to proceed to present the audio presentation to you, reading from my own work, entitled A Midwestern Yankee in King Ovin's Court, a fantasy novel by yours truly, Joshua T. Calkins-Treworgy. Let us begin. Prologue. A wave of sickly green flames roared like all the hounds of hell, tearing along after Gylif, leaving everything living that they touched a smoldering black husk. The grasses ahead crinkled and browned moments before being scorched, the acrid stench of burning destruction and devastation pervading the air. Gylif, a proud centaur, charged along ahead of this doom, his lower horse's body already strained, sweat pouring down his humanoid forehead and his bared chest. He could see the humans and their buildings, their cars and street lamps, and trappings, all ghostly, phantom-like images. Gylif was running in the in-between, the realm that tethered the mortal plane to the ether plane, the aether, the two worlds tied together by a kind of thin place that took on aspects of both realms. The real trouble for Gylif was that wildfire could burn in both the ether and the in-between. Coupled with the fairy law which forbade appearing instantly before humans, his options for escape were slim. Up ahead, Gylif spotted an alley mouth he felt certain he could angle himself down to get away from both the flames and human eyes for observation. Passing through cars and people who could neither sense him nor make direct contact with him, the centaur warrior still shivered at the chilled, jelly-like feeling he always felt when passing through what should have been solid matter if it vibrated on the same plane as he. He put on an extra burst of speed and tore around the corner into the alley. Thankfully for him, there were no vagrants or vagabonds hanging about. With an effort of will, Gylif reached out with his hands and tore a ragged hole in the air, slipping through as fast as he could. He let the rift shut behind him with a zipping sound, and a moment later, ghostly green fire raged around and through him, passing harmlessly through the mortal plane as a phantasmal force that only the gifted or the awakened would sense, much less see. Gylif waited until 5 minutes had passed, then used his innate magic to create a much neater, cleaner rift a few feet ahead of him, one that led him right back through the in-between. He trotted through the space, back into the land of Faerie. All around he saw the charred waste of the flatlands in this part of Ovin's kingdom, Amarmidst. Piles of ashes and bones dotted the landscape, the sight of them causing the centaur's stomach to turn flops in his body. His gorge rose at the stench saturating the environs, but he choked it back with an effort. In the near distance, just northwest of him, Gyluf spotted a rarity. It was a low, squat building with a shimmering golden aura, a place known as a twinning. These enchanted structures were the same in the mortal plane, the in-between, and the ether plane, and each was watched over by awakened humans called sages. The glow around this one, however, was letting off random sparks and splashes of neon green and bright purple light. The wildfire hadn't destroyed the twinning, but its power was enough to damage the aura severely. He had no idea what sort of effects such damage would cause. Gyluf began to approach the twinning. He would have to send word of this damage and the ritual that he had partly witnessed to someone with influence in Lord Ovin's court. When he was 50 yards away, a primal roar, savage and bloodthirsty, boomed out from the south. The creature that had invoked the wildfire was coming, and Gyluf was certainly its prey. Heart-pounding, the centaur fled the area with all due haste, the notion of reporting the damaged twinning forgotten in his sudden urge to save his own skin. In a way, it is good that he forgot. Otherwise, dear reader, this tale would not need telling. Chapter 1. Meet Kathy. The alarm clock buzzed its mindless, soulless message. Wake up, it declared without words. Rise and be counted among the living. A hateful thing of plastic, the alarm clock, surely an idea created in a particularly dry spell of imagination by the Marquis de Sade. These foggy thoughts and more, some even less charitable, ran through Kathy's mind as her eyes cracked open, sight falling blearily upon the device. Laying on her right side beneath a simple white sheet, she let her left hand drift of its own accord to the clock, clutching it tightly, murderously. Usually, Kathy Potts was the very model of impulse control. Exceptions, however, like the little square red clock, hurtling against the wall at breakneck speed and shattering apart, had to be made now and then. The buzzing was gone, and as she groaned and began to sit up, Kathy wondered why she'd set the alarm to begin with. She was on vacation, so she had no need to be up yet. Habit, she figured. Swinging her legs over the side of the bed, the brunette stretched and yawned. The end of her bed, her gray and black turtle-shell cat, Tigger, mimicked her perfectly, adding in his feline angling of butt high, body low. She gave the feline a wry grin. If I tried that, she said, I'd probably break something. Likely my spine, she added, her voice husky, a little like she'd been smoking or like, as was the case, she had only just gotten up. Perhaps something similar to that of a 30s or 40s noir film or speakeasy occupant. Come on, buddy boy, she said affectionately, reaching out for the cat. He rubbed his head against her hand as his way of saying hello. Kathy's bedroom was a veritable shrine to all things Faerie-related. A poster for the first computer-animated Tinkerbell movie hung on the wall over her bed in a faux gilt frame. Her windowsill was lined with tiny figurines inspired by the art of Brian Froud, and the top shelf of her 3-level bookcase against the right wall, as one entered, was lined with books on Faerie mythology, legends, and folklore. She even had an aging copy of the Tales of the Brothers Grimm jammed in there, a valuable leather-bound tome that she had gotten from her brother Jack on her 21st birthday. Kathy hummed a meaningless tune as she gathered some clothes for the lovely late spring day ahead. A simple white blouse of floral print, beige capri, and a pair of black Iowa Hawkeyes flip-flops in hand, she headed into the bathroom for a morning shower. Even in here, her love of faerie and magical creatures showed. Her soap dish was a cute little baby dragon of ceramic, sitting in a cracked eggshell, its arms out to hold the soap. A pair of gnome figurines held up her toothbrush and razor. These were not gnomes like one would see in a garden, though. These little guys were chubby, yellowish-skinned men with bushy white beards and an almost medieval peasant's kind of garb. Kathy ran the shower, scrubbing away night sweat and her last vestiges of sleep. Freshly washed and clothed, she grabbed a bowl of cereal and sat in the small kitchen of her one-bedroom apartment in downtown Minneapolis. Her laptop still open on the small two-seater table. Came to life with a click of the spacebar, and she headed on to her Facebook account. Kathy skimmed through her newsfeed, making a couple of sarcastic comments on some of her friends' posts. An advert on the right side of her screen caught her attention as she was finishing her breakfast. It was an ad for something called Magical Things. Curious, she clicked on the link. She was transferred to a new tab at a website front page which read, "Welcome, Kathy." Kathy figured the site used her profile information to produce its automated greetings. She began by clicking on a tab marked In Store Now. Instantly, dozens of photos of figurines, wall scrolls, replica weapons, and armor popped up on screen. She scrolled through, each item more enticing than the last. The prices weren't unreasonable either. Best of all, however, was the location. A quick Google Maps search informed Kathy that Magical Things was only a 15-minute drive away from her apartment. Tigger, purring and rubbing against Kathy's leg, looked up at her as Kathy petted him. "Well, Tig, I know what we're doing today," she said, baby talking the feline. He seemed quite happy to receive his just desserts and attention. A grabbing of her wallet and purse later, Kathy was out the door and on her way to start her vacation from work. That day would bring more than one beginning, but she knew nothing of that just yet. She did wonder if anyone would mention on the radio the strange wave of heat that had washed over the region just 2 days prior, but that seemed unlikely. No one else that she had talked to at the group home that she worked at as a counselor seemed to have noticed anything out of the ordinary, and the only coworker who commented on it was her supervisor, Cheryl. "That heat was the fire under your ass to have your vacation," Cheryl said with a laugh. Kathy thought back on that and giggled a little as she climbed behind the wheel of her Mitsubishi Galante. Off she went then, to begin a chain of events that would never be forgotten by anyone involved. I believe that's actually going to be a good spot to come to a wrap for this first installment of the presentation of A Midwestern Yankee in King Ovin's Court. And we'll pick up and continue the tale on the next break stream that I have with you folks tomorrow evening. If I assume you're watching this later on, either tonight or tomorrow or whatever future date that you happen to stop in to give it a watch/listen, I do hope to encourage you to entertain, to engage in this story and to take from it what entertainment is all I'm trying to do here as a storyteller. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. I ask that you take care of yourselves, and as always, keep reading.